To understand psychic numbing, we have to go back some years. Let's go back to 2006, 23rd July. Something happened on that day that kept a nation of 1 billion people back then glued to their television screens for 2 continuous days. In the state of Haryana, in the village or near the village of Kurukshetra, 2 kids were playing on an open field. I think they were chasing mouse. And then what happened next? These 2 kids, named Prince and Angrez, I believe, while chasing a mouse, Prince stepped on a sack which was covering a deep 60-foot bore well. Now the sack cover was not strong enough and Prince just fell down right to the bottom. His friend Angrez luckily managed to keep balance and he ran off to the village to get help. In a moment's notice, everyone was there trying to save Prince. I hope some of you guys, if you are millennials, you will remember this story. And we were all glued to the screen, to the televisions for more than 2 full days. Now the local administrative, the authoritative bodies, they were unable to get him out and the Indian army was summoned. Now with engineers and army, they were trying to get as much, or they were trying to offer as much help as possible and get Prince out. A parallel deep shaft was digged right next to Prince's 60-foot tunnel, and then a 7-foot connector was built. Meanwhile, there was oxygen being supplied. So a CCTV camera was put in, in Prince's 60-foot deep well where he fell in. Milk and chocolate was given to him, and he was just kept in good shape until help reached him. Now, an important thing to notice over here is that one kid, an entire nation of 1 billion plus people back then, and we were all praying. There were mosques and churches and temples and whatnot. People were just praying for Prince's well-being. In the end, a 7-foot connecting tunnel was built between the new one and Prince's shaft, and Prince was finally taken out by a soldier. And that was from 23rd July. The rescue ended on 25th July 2006, which was incidentally also Prince's 5th birthday. Social media platforms were not really there back then, and TV and radio were the only sources from where people could gather information, and they were glued to these sources for the 48 hours or 50 hours of the operations that went by. In fact, all national TV channels cancelled all their programs and was completely live over this 50 hours of operation that took place. The entire nation was there together. It still gives me goosebumps to remember that day when the entire nation came together praying for this one kid. Now jump cut to today, 2026. A small strait of water body in the Middle East. I think people were hardly even aware of the name before Feb 2026, the Strait of Hormuz. And today, we are talking about global economic turmoil, we are talking about energy crisis, we are talking about the dialogues being exchanged between US and Israel and Iran, and of course the Russia, India, China and every other country, the Middle Eastern countries, the European Union, and all of them together exchanging dialogues and taking part in the overall chaos that has set in. What do we do as humans? We start our daily routines, right? We have our breakfast, we go to work, we just read the headlines and we see, okay, fine, that's another day, another news. We look at the stock market, we look at our equity options, and then that's it. It just becomes a background noise. But let's just zoom past all of these headlines for a moment. Let's just zoom in a little more. Zoom in beyond the economics and beyond the headlines and what's being shared on Truth Social, etc. What do you see? What do you see on this body of water? We see hundreds of ships and we see thousands of sailors trapped on this rotting iron floating objects, right? Some of them, their contracts might have expired. Some of them were supposed to get married once they land on shore. Some of them have their babies being delivered while they're stuck on this water body, having canned food and wondering when their life would become normal again. But are we seeing them on the headlines? No. What we are seeing are all about the world turmoil and global economics and energy crisis and all of those stuffs. Now see this contrast between the two stories. One, 2006, a single child, prince, an entire nation praying for his well-being. On the other hand, 2026, thousands of sailors, but what we are talking about, not really on the sailors' well-being. We are talking about economics, we are talking about energy crisis, we are talking about world in chaos. Now Dr. Paul Slovic in 1960s, I believe, he came up with this term psychic numbing. This contrast between how we perceive or empathize with one single human being and how we statistically zoom out for 1,000 sailors is what psychic numbing is. As they say, one death is a tragedy, 1,000 deaths is statistic. So our human brains are simply not wired to process this massive tragedy. If it is a single human being, we can easily empathize. Or let's say if it is a recognizable face or a familiar story of one single person. But our empathy paradoxically drops when the number increases. The scale is just too big for us to comprehend. Alright, so the next progressive question that you might be having on your mind is, how does all of this impact me? How does psychic numbing impact me, or how do I understand it better? See the LinkedIn post that we see every day. Now, if there is one single woman, let's say for example, who is terminated unethically or unlawfully or illegally, let's say due to pregnancy, right, and the person needs to go on maternity leave and the organization says, we just let you go. What do? We get into an outrage mode, right? We write hashtags for for that person, like hashtag justice for XYZ, right? Because we can empathize with this one single person and we deeply know what's going on wrong with this person, right? We try to do our best to help the person out. But in contrast, see the next set of news that comes out, right? That certain company laid off 5,000 people, certain company laid off 10,000, 15,000 people for AI or for corporate restructuring. What do? In such cases, we start looking at the overall performance of the company. Yes, we do empathize at a high level, but not for any individual. We start looking at the P&Ls, we start looking at how the organization would be performing next day on the stock market or the equity market, right? So our focused outrage vanishes. So there you go. This is what psychic numbing is, when we contrast between a single human being, a single animal, a single of everything versus numeric of the same thing. So the next time you are in a boardroom or you are reading a newspaper and you're looking at the statistics and the graphs, the charts and the dots and the numbers on the P&L, remember something. We can't do anything about psychic numbing, right? We can't change or rewire how the human brain works. It's just a framework, it's just a psychology that Dr. Paul Slovic came up for us to understand how our brain operates. But what we could do is, every time we get to see this news or get to see this charts and graphs, the statistics around it, let's zoom past and understand that behind every number, behind every dot on the line chart, there is a person, there is a father, there is a young person maybe trying to build his career, empower his family with more resources but maybe unable to do so anymore, got laid off, and those are the impacts. The same individual, but because it is hidden behind the statistics, we are just not able to see beyond it. That's what psychic numbing is. What are your thoughts? What do we do when we see numbers? At the same time, if you liked this, you may like this other video too. Bye for now.